price. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you need the wrong or
Hello,
right.
everyone, and welcome back to Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt. Oh, sorry, I thought we were doing our thing.
Do the thing. Sorry. I got really excited. Now do the thing.
Off.
Do the thing.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob, and we have a very exciting opportunity event. Our very first repeat guest, Alex Clippinger, of much fame and renown. Hello.
Oh, do you guys have a different Alex Clippinger showing up later, or?
It's just you. You're our favorite.
We do have a two-time guest challenge going for you that you'll get after successful completion of this show. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, am I really your first repeat guest? That doesn't seem right. You could have probably repeated much better guests by this point.
Well, better maybe. I don't know. Probably not. There are people we probably could have had on a second time, but we're not very organized. So anyway, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it's an honor, maybe a dubious one, but you were one of our early guests. I'm pretty sure that when we recorded with you last time, we were both still recording on like blue snowballs, and didn't have. We were really bootstrapping it. Not that we're fancy now, but we have real microphones. We're professionals.
Oh, hey, you moving up? You guys got a you got a Patreon and stuff now.
We do have a Patreon, yeah.
Seems like it's going great, which I'm very excited for.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a long time coming, but
hey, get this, fellas, guys, dudes.
I'm here. I'm listening.
I said this to Rob. I forgot to send this to Alex last night. Is that it's happened before and it's happened again. Wizards of the Coast continues to leak what the next books are going to be by accident on Amazon. Okay, you saw this. So we're getting a Feywild book. We're getting another Magic the Gathering crossover. This one's Strixhaven. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
that's how I would say
what we're getting.
Strixhaven. Yeah, actually, this is a timely recording. Anything we want to say about that? Do we have any observations, comments? This is a late-breaking leak. Yeah.
And when it comes to the Magic the Gathering stuff, I mean, head empty. I don't play Magic the Gathering. I don't think I have Ravnica. I might. But like I have really no understanding or comprehension about the lore, about the history, none of it at all. But the Feywild one, I mean, that sounds good. I like that. I think a lot of people have been expecting and really hoping for that for a while.
Yeah, I'd fuck with a Feywild book. That sounds fun.
They've been making they've been fleshing out the Feywild in a lot of ways, and it's a lot more interesting than it used to be. We bought and reviewed Ravnica. Matt, I think, has played more Magic the Gathering, more MTG than I have, but I'm kind of like you. I've played it. I like it in theory. I don't have a lot of experience with it, so my response is just a big old shrug. We'll see.
Strixhaven's all about like Magic College. So I mean, I like a Magic College. But, Dungeons & Dragons is a game where, not everyone's like a wizard or whatever.
Right.
Magic the Gathering is a game where everyone's like a wizard or whatever. So, I'm sure they'll find ways to make it sort of interesting. But again, just make up a new world.
Well, that's a good segue. Alex, for
speaking of making up new worlds,
that was the implication. For real Dungeon Master of None heads will remember you from years ago, whenever we interviewed you before. But do you want to tell the new listeners who you are, what you do, and then maybe what you're working on right now?
Yeah. So I mean, like last time we talked, I think it was like called the DM's Guild grind or like grinding on the content on the DM's Guild. So that's where I got my start, is writing D&D content back in like 2017 on the Guild. Did that for a few years, and now I can't talk about anything I'm working on because none of it's on the Guild anymore, and it's under contracts. I mean, there's obviously some public facing stuff, but Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to talk. I don't get to talk about a lot of stuff that I would really like to talk about. Just suffice
That's cool.
to
That
say,
means you've moved up.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm extremely excited about it and very passionate about it, and I'll continue to be passionate about it sometime in the next year or two when I get to say what it is.
Well, having a secret project, that's exciting too. And, I know you can tell us some things. We'll get to that later because there's a preview. And so you can at least talk to me about what's about what's in the preview. But you moved on from DM's Guild, or largely from DM's Guild, but you've got some excellent offerings there. And part of why we wanted to have you on is because they're spooky, Alex. And it's been a spooky month at Wizards of the Coast and in the Dungeons and Dragons world. There've been obviously the release of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and I kind of wanted to get your take, hot or otherwise, on that. How are you feeling about this direction?
It's funny because I I did get the book on D&D Beyond, and I thought, okay, well, man, I'm doing this interview. Like, I better look through some parts of this. I better kind of formulate some opinions about the book and about like the horror genre and like horrors and horror in RPGs. And then I listened to your guys' 2-part, and you killed me. You ruined me. You said all the stuff I was gonna say. I'm broken as a human being.
Well, no, we were hoping you would come on and agree with us. So
yeah.
that's
Oh yeah.
But I mean, genuinely, you're obviously a fan of the genre. Like, just aside from this, and I was really excited by what they did in Domains of Dread, but it's exciting to see, I guess, horror be given a fair shake. I think, especially in Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously, you've got Cthulhu and other things, but it's always been, well, it hasn't been particularly well done in the past, in my opinion. And
sure. Yeah.
This was a strong step.
I mean, I like the horror direction in general. I just think I like kind of what this direction represents. For D&D, where you've gotten your player's handbook, your DMG monster manual, you've gotten your second round where you've gotten a couple more just kind of general monster books. They have really good theming. I do like the themes and stuff in Mordenkainen's. I like how Volos is presented, kind of the difference between the two. And now we're kind of getting past your some of your like splat books that you maybe would have expected, and now they're kind of getting into like some, let's do like a genre dive. Like, let's do a book on horror. Let's not officially confirmed. Let's do a book where we explore the Feywild, because the Feywild is extremely weird, and we're probably going to get a lot of really good. I mean, we don't know, but there's a good chance that we could get some very interesting sections in the Feywild book about like running the Feywild, running like fairy tale or like kind of twisted fairy tale adjacent style games, because we got those kind of resources and things like Ghost of Saltmarsh. The best part of the adventures are good, but the best part of Ghost of Saltmarsh is how impossibly good all of the sections are for like just random islands and running a seafaring campaign. Incredible sandbox resource. So I think now I'm excited that this represents them continuing to do that kind of stuff, where they're really kind of fixating on certain aspects of play or certain like aspects of setting and genre, and like really getting into it.
Absolutely. And if you are, I would say, if you are running Ravenloft, or honestly any campaign, Alex, you may be too humble to plug this, but one thing that I have used in the past, I've been using it for like the past 3 months as my players encountered a vampire. I was like, do I have anything that's got like some extra stuff on vampires? Is your book Esmeralda's Encyclopedia of Evil, which is like a great source for like, hey, we've got these iconic monsters in D&D. What if we fleshed them out a little bit more? Added some random tables, added some traits you could add on there. I had a very tasty, helped by a little bit of background building with 1,000-year-old vampire, but a really tasty vampire villain, thanks to your book.
Esmeralda's Guide is great. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. We put a lot of effort into our Artificer supplement right before Wizards decided to actually put out a real Artificer.
A real one, yeah, right.
Some overlap, but frankly, they did kind of pull the rug out from under us. But with you and with Esmeralda, like, it kind of. Can I ask this? Have you seen a spike in sales or interest since Ravenloft came out?
I mean, a little bit. I also did like a promo type thing for about a week or two, just because like it was my fourth or fifth or whatever year on the guild. Yeah, just not much. I mean, to be honest, like that one hit gold bestseller, and it continues to. It doesn't really sell that much. Like honestly, it just people come across it, and it seems like they really like it, but. Maybe I've got the wrong tags on it or something, or I am also terrible at self-promotion. I would not have brought up that supplement if you guys had not.
I only brought it up, to be honest, because I've used it in the past month. So
yeah.
Well, and I've recommended your stuff before. I used your Skullport guide extensively when I was running Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Sorry that you're not good at self-promotion, but we'll promote for you. We're more than happy to make recommendations.
Here's a question for you, Alex.
You're filling in the gaps for me.
We will fill those gaps. Here's a question for you, Alex. Now that you're like liberated from the shackles of the DM's Guild and you're working on things that are like don't have to follow that like specific, license requirements and all that stuff where, it can you could really like work on your own worlds or someone else's world that doesn't fit into the like D&D license, like what's that like is that a lot more fun or freeing finally getting out and working on like projects that are have their own publisher?
Yeah, and I will flesh this out. It's different. It really depends on what the project is. It depends on who you're doing it for. I mean, just differences in approach and project management across publishers and across projects is a huge thing. I won't like name specific companies or anything because I don't have my NDAs memorized. I'm not sure even if stuff is out whether I'm allowed to talk about the process that particular publishers and people use. But I had, publisher A, let's say, and part of the process for that one was literally week by week assignments of like, hey, can you write this? Can you kind of knock out this section and this section this week? Here's your red lines and your notes from the stuff you wrote last week. The very next week, you get your next batch of assignments and the stuff you had just written, they're giving you red lines and stuff back. I mean, it's just a very constant pace of write a little section, get some feedback, go to the next thing, write the, just over and over and over until it's done. Had not worked on a project with that level of like week by week upkeep. And it's just like once you get into it and like the more weeks you do it, the easier it is to kind of maintain that pace or to, you get a better idea of what they're looking for because they give you that feedback. So it does kind of reinforce, the tone and stuff that the publisher is looking for. It's a very different, just kind of a different approach. And then I had, let's say publisher B, where it was a very, very big project. And they said, hey team, you're all writers on this. Here's a list of assignments. Claim what you want. Go off and write it. If you have overlap or something, or you need to consult, if you have a question for us, you have a question for each other, if you think that maybe a section overlaps or anything like that, ask. Otherwise, you will never speak to each other again. And you know what? I loved both of those because, I mean, and they were, without details, they were two very different projects. And the approach for project A was fine. Like, it was fine that they went that direction with it. And then for Project B, the nature of the project was, yeah, it's okay if we all just go off and we claim our assignments and we just go off into our little hovels and scratch on some cuneiform on rocks for a while until we have it. Because like if
don't forget to bake them in a clay oven so they'll last a long time.
They'll last for 1,000 years. Yeah, and like both those approaches are just different, and you just kind of have to be adaptive with kind of the demands or the needs of what a project is asking you. But it's been fun, doing all these different styles.
Well, and that's interesting. One of my boring like realizations, observations as I've gotten older and spent more time in the world doing things is that a lot of any project, but also frankly a big part of a lot of creative projects is that that project management is having a plan. Doesn't necessarily matter, like you just described two entirely different but viable structures and plans. A lot of people still neglect to have any sort of structure, even a loose one, and those projects fail to come to fruition or end up half-baked or quarter-baked, and it again like seems very, very banal, but like a lot of creative people sort of overlook the nuts and bolts of just like, how are we going to actually get this thing done? How are we going to like ship this project? And when I have the opportunity to work with others, I am looking for that first and foremost, right? Like, how are we going to take this to the finish line? Less so than, I suppose, the creative vision.
Yeah, and anybody who may or may not currently be a project manager for me, who may or may not listen to this interview, you are precious, and I appreciate you. Yeah, it's good project management is, it's worth its weight in gold. It's an incredibly important aspect, and being able to recognize not only like your own management style, but maybe like adaptations you need to make based on like what the project is or who the team is just, I don't know if that's a skill that I have, but the people who do, incredible.
Thinking about that, like, I think it goes without saying, Alex, you're a particular hero of ours and of many of our listeners in that, okay, just hold on, just
really,
hear me out.
Really greasing me up here. Okay.
yeah. Okay,
we're
this one's
fans.
gonna be a bad question. No. It's just like you're a person who's like plays Dungeons and Dragons, DMs Dungeons and Dragons, and then like, hey, I've got all this creative energy and like drive, and you wrote some stuff and it did well, and you like did a thing on the DMs Guild, and then did lots of things, and they've done really well, and people really respect like the creative writing that you create. I ran this was early on in the pandemic, one of your adventures, I think it was like Sharn by Midnight or something like that. It was a murder mystery. Absolutely loved it. Players got a hoot out of it. And so you've done that, and you've done just all these other projects, but you've tiered up, right, in your creative output, in that you've gone from writing on the DM's Guild to like working on all of these secret unnamed projects and like big Kickstarters and other publications. I just wanted to know, like, since our first interview, we talked about, that DM's Guild grind, like, how did you like level up as a creative Dungeons and Dragons RPG writer?
I'm not gonna say it's like it's because I'm such a good creator. I'm so good at this all the time.
Good little boy. You write all the D&Ds.
Right. No, there's a bajillion people on the DM's Guild and otherwise who are doing incredible work in not just D&D but like the RPG space in general. And like I've actually kind of thought about it, like, how did I end up here? Like, what the hell happened? And honestly, a lot of it is luck, and a lot of it is collaboration. Like, I can definitely trace the way that being actively engaged in the DM's Guild community and the creator community is a huge factor in springboarding into other stuff. I'm trying to think I'm trying to think of examples and stuff. Just like Phil Beckwith, who I did the Wranglers of West Hollow Kickstarter with. He and I had not, like, we haven't done a huge amount of like DM's Guild projects together, but we were both super active in Facebook, on Twitter. We wanted there to be a DM's Guild community, and we wanted to be part of it, and we wanted to have this very active and encouraging community of creators who are trying to constantly collaborate with each other, who are trying to be excited about each other's projects. And I'm pretty sure Phil's a person who he might have gotten reached out. I think Loresmith might have been the one who reached out to him for something. And I think at the time he had other stuff going on, and he just said, hey, I can't do this, but who would be great? And listed me and probably a couple other people. And ended up, they ended up reaching out to me and asking if I wanted to be involved. And, now I've done like a couple things with Loresmith. And it's just, that's kind of the story constantly, is people because you make an effort to be part of a community. You put yourself out there. Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. No,
that's exactly right. I think that's part of, that's the strategy we've pursued. And I think it's why we're at all like moderately successful as a podcast, is that we try to be a part of the community. We try to have other people on. We try to give voice to creators and be a part of the community. And I think that when you're small, or when you're, working in such a, RPGs, D&D, it's still a small community. It's still a small group of people, relative. And being a part of that community is, I know that's your approach, and we love and respect that about, how you work. And I think that's exactly right. I think that's a good lesson for anybody, like anywhere in their creative career or just pursuits, is to be involved, to reach out, to collaborate. I'm going to ask you about your project, but I wanted to circle back to horror just for a moment, because if you listen to the podcast, Matt and I were tickled about all sorts of things in Domains of Dread, but neither of us are big-time horror heads. We're not, neither of us has a Shudder subscription or anything like that.
Neither of us have shelves full of like 1970s and 80s VHS movies we consider classics.
Okay. So far we're still in the same boat.
Okay. There are a lot that I like. I'm a big baby and I get scared very easily. And so my appetite for horror is high, because I like a lot of the things. I like the suspense. I like that there's usually a mystery or a puzzle to solve. I like monsters, but I don't watch that much, and I don't experience that much. And so I wanted to talk to you about it for a couple of reasons, because we talked at length in a few episodes about how to run a horror adventure, and how I think we said a lot of people get this wrong, and that it's challenging, and people tend to focus on the wrong things. And I wonder sort of, I wanted to get your take on that, about how, especially in like a, an RPG, but like a D&D setting, how do you get spooky? How do you run a scary adventure?
So, especially if we're talking about D&D, like, what do you think is the number one, like, short phrase thing that you need to run a horror adventure? And a lot of people might say, like, okay, you need like you might need like a certain genre of horror. You might need spooky imagery. Maybe you need the right atmosphere. In my opinion, especially when we're talking about D&D, the number one ingredient to running a horror adventure is that your players agree to participate in a horror adventure. D&D is 99% of the time a power fantasy, and horror. And horror is about surrendering agency. That is kind of a double-edged sword. It's easy to watch a horror movie and have a good time because you're just along for the ride. Mm-hmm. It's hard to run a horror game because you need to understand that you have like a responsibility there. You are taking players on the ride, and players have a responsibility because they have to be willing to go along with the ride. There needs to be there's kind of a push and pull between the agency of the players, especially when they're playing in a system that is designed to let them overcome challenges. They need to be willing to not default to victory. Yeah, there's a spooky monster in front of you, and if you rolled initiative, maybe you could just fight it out and kill it. But horror in D&D can't just be, this fight was really hard. You know, it can't be. It can't just be mechanically scary, because I could just drop a dragon on someone, and they barely survive. That doesn't make it a horror game. Mm-hmm. Players need to kind of embrace this idea of role-playing characters who are sometimes too scared to know what to do, or who don't default to, well, we killed a dragon, we can do this. You know. Like the number one ingredient is players and GMs recognizing that, and just be willing to. It's a really weird balance. It's a really tough balance. I think it's hard to strike, and sometimes tables will try it, and it won't work. And sometimes they could play that exact same adventure, you know, and just have played it on a different day, and it's like the best experience ever. It's tenuous, but I think, as long as everyone is approaching it with that attitude, that like players are willing to surrender a little bit of like their mechanical agency and trust the GM, and the GM's responsibility is to not violate that trust. It's like the number one factor, I think, in running a horror adventure.
I think that's really spot on, and I hadn't thought about it this way before reading Domains of Dread, but there was a bit in that was really interesting to me, where the book mentioned that when people go see a horror movie, they know what to expect, and they trust, I guess, the experience, because they can see like the poster art, the trailer, they know the director, right? And that you need to have basically the same thing if you're going to try to run a horror game, right? You need to make your players need to be aware and invested, and they want to participate in this, and framing it in that way was very helpful for me. And I know that I know that you, all of us, but you especially have been engaging with some what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know, grognards, who think that the way to scare your players, the way to run a horror game, is to surprise and shock and offend them somehow. And I'm sure you agree, but the thing that I kept taking away from all those really obnoxious conversations was, that's not scary, that's just unpleasant, you know?
Being unpleasant. Yeah. A lot of those approaches, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to upset players. You know who's not scared is their character. Because you have, like, if you breach certain things that you shouldn't breach, you take an approach you shouldn't take, you're actually you're derailing the fiction. You are like, if you were pushing, like, it's okay to, like, you can have a body horror adventure or something, right? And obviously there's a lot of aspects of things like body horror that are going to make players at your table go, oh god, gross, ew. But like, if you are dredging up something for someone, or like actually just emotionally upsetting them, they're not having a roleplay experience, they're having a negative life experience at your table. You're not successfully running a horror game, you were just upsetting someone. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between the kind of upset, there's a difference between the kind of disgust or fear or being upset that, like you said, you agree to when you go to see a horror movie, versus someone has tailored an experience that is messing with you as a person. and there is a line between you and your character. Like there is supposed to be a difference between character fear and disgust, and so there's areas where it's okay for there to be overlap, but it's overlap that the table has agreed to, that they are prepared and aware of. It's thinking about Van Richten's. I really like the concept of their seeds of fear. I think that's an incredibly good guideline for especially people who are not experienced running or playing in horror games. Be like, well, how do I this doesn't inflict the frightened condition. I don't understand. It's like, no, it's not about the frightened condition. It's, hey, here's some guidelines of like, this thing scares your character. Just keep this in mind, and like when this kind of stuff happens, like you'll have a guideline for like how your character reacts. You are all building this fiction together, and that there's a very big difference between that kind of guideline and pretending like you're a master of horror online because your players get upset at you. Is just hugely different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is like such good advice in that, not everything in a horror game, but a lot of things like sometimes can violate like some basic DMing advice of like, don't like negate players' powers, right? Or don't create a situation where, like the solution isn't like immediate, where they can't like figure it out. And a lot of horror is like, these sort of weird challenges or weird situations or stuff like that, right? If you don't have your players' consent, right, you've just created, not only have you like violated consent and like just truly and deeply upset people, right? But you've also never created that sort of buy-in necessary to have a fun role-playing game experience instead of a awful role-playing game experience. Yeah. One that violates the like one of the basic pieces of advice that we've given on the show since like episode 3.
There's a aspect of running horror games that I think a good connection that people should make is placing fiction placing the fiction and the experience first above mechanics. And you do that when you run a horror game, and I say, oh, you're surrendering agency and all these other buzzwords and stuff I'm throwing out. But people do this all the time. It's called the rule of cool. It's, can I climb up on the ogre and like do a backflip off of them? It's like, I don't need to flip to a rule book page and say, oh, I think maybe your movement doesn't let you. People do these kinds of things all the time for the sake of like pulp action, or just because it's cool, or the DM is creating like a magical effect that's not based explicitly on one of the spells in the player's handbook. This happens absolutely all the time at tables, where you just say, okay, well, I'm not going to tether this to like a rulebook page. It's just a better experience for everyone if we run it this way, or it's more cool and interesting to not just have an easy answer, and just apply that same thing to tension, to horror, and just don't worry about it. Everybody's gonna have a good time.
Yeah, one thing you said was very spot on, and I think that DMs can forget this, not just when it comes to horror games, but there's a difference between what your players feel and what their characters feel, right? And if you're running the game well, then there's a kind of synchronicity between what their characters are experiencing and what they as a player is experiencing. But skipping, over and just trying to horrify and upset and frighten and gross out your players, yeah, exactly what you said. It just breaks the fiction. It doesn't. You're not running a horror game. You're just kind of doing you're just shocking people. And I think that, I think that Van Richten's, but like a lot of recent fiction and RPG work in this area has educated a lot of people and taken us in a different direction, because I think the sort of flagship, the best game for running horror, Call of Cthulhu, that may be spicy, but just deal with it, folks. It still had still had a problem with this. Less so recently, but I think that a lot of keepers and a lot of people who played that game were more trying to be edgy or spooky or gross out or something, rather than really capture the horror experience, because it's challenging, because it's more difficult than I guess maintaining a power fantasy, which is especially with D&D what it usually is.
Right.
It's a lot
horror
more fun.
Is not just a reverse power fantasy. It's not the Dungeon Master power fantasy.
Right.
Oh, I get to this version of the game lets me just, kill you with impunity or violate your characters in some other way, right? It's not reverse power fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have to ask, and we can cut this if the two of you want. But Alex, you've turned yourself into the gadfly of like D&D internet groups.
Excuse me, I'm in recovery. I'm attempting to not go to those Facebook groups as much as possible.
You have descended into up the mountains of madness, down into the ninth circle of hell for our benefit, truly, right? To see what goes on among the like sort of most reactionary like groups of people who are just upset about like anytime, I don't know, any role-playing game company like says something nice or does something maybe a little bit helpful, and then they post angrily about it. I was just wondering if you could, share a few gems from your experience mining these depths.
Oh no, I mean, man, I feel like probably all the spiciest bad spicy takes I've put on Twitter. Give me a second here.
Absolutely, and this is always like a good way to like judge. At least I like it if I know that the worst people in the world are upset about something. You're like, oh, okay, maybe definitely this is a good idea. Oh, look, hey, it's these assholes. They're upset again. Okay, yeah, this is good then.
I mean, honestly, the worst, probably the worst part, the greatest existential dread of reading the groups is that it's hard to find, I guess, something that is a standout, as opposed to just reading the same atrociously bad take over and over and over and over and over again. So my personal domain of dread, I would be the Dark Lord of, would be being trapped in this Facebook group, and the curse is I will never see a new take that I have not seen within the last 10 minutes.
It's that sort of idea that the people on the right they only have one joke, right? It's I identify as vaccinated or something, right? Oh yeah, it's the same joke.
Well, and this, we appreciate the work that you did, and it is
nothing. I feel like nothing of value is lost except my time and my emotional health.
That being said, it was striking every time you would post something that it was just the same thing over and over again. They were just mad about the same three things, and no new information can penetrate those groups, those communities. They're like a black hole, like that formed in the late 1980s, and literally like no new ideas can enter. It's literally like I have been encountering these people for as long as I have been playing role-playing games, and whether it's about gender or politics or LGBTQ rights, it's always like it's exactly the same thing, and there has not been a new take, a new, like the position has not changed 1 ounce since
listen, if this ever happens to me, both of you have permission, and in fact I'm sending you the gate code to my house so you can get in and come put me down if this ever happens to me. Is you get like old guy, and again it's almost always guys, right? Old guy D&D brain, where you just forget the basic fact that it's all fucking made up, right? And if things are made up badly, you could make them up better.
It's like if you tell me you've been playing since first edition, if you tell me you've been playing since like first or second edition, then why are you here? You have literally watched them do this. You have watched them do major changes to lore and things over and over and over for like 4 editions now, and you're still getting hot under the collar about this? This just keeps happening. Why are you not used to it by now? Like,
son of a bitch, they've done it again.
They've done it again. You can't keep getting away with it.
And yet they do. Yeah, I just... No, I feel the same way. I can't imagine continuing to get angry about this after all this time. I mean, there have been so many edition changes and so much like egregious like retconning that has nothing to do with like woke politics or whatever. That's just still like incredibly annoying and frustrating, and you just sort of gotta roll with it. But some people,
getting angry is fun. I mean, I do it all every day, but it's like, just getting upset. Like Dr. Mordenheim, a person that does not exist. She's a lady now. How?
We would like to assure you that no residents of any domains of dread were harmed in the making of this edition.
That's right. Yeah, what do they want? What do they want? What's their goal? Is their goal to have like at the end of this like a humane society for their fake characters to make sure that they stay as like uninteresting as they were in 1986?
It's a weird approach because I see people talking about how they are or were excited. And then as like stuff comes out, they say, I hate this. I'm not excited for this anymore. I loved the way it was in, whatever their favorite edition is or whatever their favorite collection of books is. I don't understand what it is you were looking for then. If you love a certain depiction in a certain edition and that's what you've always used and you love that, great. What more did you... What were you expecting out of this? If you have your idealized version of something, why are you even paying attention to what 5th edition is doing? Just like the thing you like, I guess, and please don't bother me if I also am interested to see what the new thing is.
I mean, the hobby has grown so much in the past 10 years, and we have numbers about this now. Wizards put out a new survey that I forget what exactly it is, and we haven't talked about it on the pod, but I think it was like I think like over 50%.
I think the number that I definitely remember is that only 14% of all players polled were over 40. They had different groupings for all these different 5 to 8 year age ranges, and then 40 plus was just its own entire category of 14% of people.
I distinctly remember that I was on the wrong end of the demographic distribution, even at 34, but at 40 plus. And by the way, some of these older gamers are respected elders who we should be kind to and have done nothing wrong. But there are some of them who are growing increasingly, their numbers are diminishing, and yet they just howl louder and louder at every change. And the thing is, there's plenty for them. Not only are there all the existing books and everything that was published back when it was specifically aimed at them, but there are a lot of people who are like, let's go back to, let's publish some reactionary garbage because I don't like the way that 5th edition has gone. It's just, it's not that it seems to be not enough that there's something for them. They also want there to not be anything for new players or for...
I wish some of them would just relax and just choose to stop engaging with 5th edition. Like I said, if they have the idealized version of the thing that they love, just enjoy that. Just go with that. But don't lie to me and or yourself about what it is you were expecting. It wasn't the mad scientist. I think it was the pirate whose name is escaping me. Who's changed to
DeReezer? something like that.
They're femme, they're femme presenting. They're not a Blackbeard style pirate or something anymore in this edition. And somebody on a, like the common phrasing every time someone is changed to, a person of color or, a not white dude, essentially. Well, it's not that I just wish they would make a new character instead of changing it. Like, no, you don't. If they removed the character you liked and replaced it with who they said was a completely different
you wouldn't
character,
like that either.
Your reaction would still be the same. You still would not like it because you prefer the old version. Please just use the old version. Please stop talking to me about the new version you don't like. Just enjoy the thing that you like.
Okay, not to get too off topic here, but I like Corey Robbins' The Reactionary Mind.
Okay.
I think is a must read for every person or who cares about understanding this sort of political activity or politics of culture. And it's this idea is a return to an imagined past that never existed, right? In defense of an existing privilege or hierarchy of power, right? That's what it's all about. Even if people
written in 2011.
Yes.
So I can't even imagine. Is there a revised expanded edition?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, there was. He did a post Trump one.
I mean, it's a
but yeah, the last one I think ended with Sarah Palin, which how far we've come. And I also imagine every I don't know year or so some person on the right wing launches a new comic book or Kickstarter for a comic book. It's comics aren't what they were used to be, the ladies on the cover aren't sexy enough, and they I don't know, and it's always just the most dog shit comic book you could ever imagine, right? And I imagine that this will be the future of D&D if these people can ever organize themselves enough. They're all right, we're gonna do D&D that's really really dumb or something like that, but it promotes no politics or something will be the tagline. So that's what I predict for the future. Heaven help us.
I mean, hell, that's the present. It's not like reactionary creators don't exist. And I mean, for every perfect RPG Kickstarter, there's another 5 or 6 from people who are just unapologetically hyper garbage 24/7 that fund they make a living because people either don't know or I think more interesting, I guess is the polite term I'll use. More interesting is that there's plenty of people who do know, and their RPG community identity is also being garbage and just celebrating being garbage together and supporting each other in their garbage heap of garbage. People make a living doing that. So it's not like they couldn't just go away and continue existing and thriving and creating in their own terms. But like you said, there is a compulsion for them to very actively put themselves out there being garbage. That's how they, advertise or get off. I don't know.
I mean, that seems to be the unfortunate truth of it, is that whether this is a natural consequence or intended, is that part of the way that these people perpetuate themselves or stay in business or, have any sort of professional or financial success is by writing or producing a wave of reaction. And it's not like we can stop getting mad at them. I mean, we can, but also, we should talk about something else. But these people are not entirely harmless. This type of person has made the hobby unattractive to new people for decades, a problem that we are only just now starting to undo in the past 5 to 10 years. And there are a lot of people who were well, I wanted to get into this, but I went to a convention, or I, went to my local Adventurers League game, and there was an asshole who was being an asshole about exactly this type of thing. And so you want to ignore them because they clearly thrive on the attention and the controversy. But if
Right.
I guess it's a bit like Nazi punks fuck off. Like, you just can't let these people.
And that's, I mean, I think I might have even said that at one point on Twitter when I was having a grand old time, you know, posting terrible hot takes. But I think something I said was, you know, this isn't really super fun for me. Like, as much as like a comedic sort of, you know, poke fun slant that I'm putting on it. It's not like it's incredibly fun for me to do this. It's just that there's a new Ravenloft book coming out, and people are going to go to like Ravenloft Facebook groups, and this is what they're going to see, and these are the people that they're going to see who are being presented as like the Ravenloft community, and I can't do anything about that group existing. I can't do anything about the stuff that they post on there. All I can do is make my little yuck jokes on Twitter so that people engage with it and people see it and know that there are unapologetic, horrible douchebags on some of these Facebook groups, but there are also people who are unapologetically calling out how actually ridiculous and terrible they are. I'm just like very explicitly saying to people, no. There are some really terrible groups, and we can all agree that they are terrible, and like that's about as much power as I have in this situation. It's just everyone look at how stupid and bad this is.
And we've engaged with some. It's been a couple of years now, but some, you know, specifically some reactionary creators who were doing things in a creating stuff that was historically. Sorry, the quotation marks here, historically based, that was particularly egregiously bad. And we also did not enjoy that very much. But, you know, it was important to me and to Matt to be like, hey, this sucks. This is not what the hobby represents. So, I mean, it feels very like useless, but you kind of got to do something. Okay. I want to make sure that we have time to talk about your thing, and I know that you cannot talk about it much, but you are part of a Kickstarter,
yeah, I think
which
the campaign wrapped up right at I think either the 31st or right at the start of June.
Okay, well,
basically.
Congratulations, and I'm sorry that this is useless for fundraising, but it's
okay.
it's called Eldritch Sands, and it looks very cool. And what can you tell us about it? That's public knowledge. What kind of teasers can you give the
so
fans?
I mean, there's a good amount out there on the campaign and everything else. So Eldritch Sands is a project run by Florian Emmerich, or Poison Potion Press is the kind of the publisher name, and it's this sort of like mini setting with a lot of 80s sci-fi horror vibes. The general sort of concept is that the world has undergone a kind of climate disaster, and that this is a fantasy. It's kind of like it is like a D&D setting. It's like a fantasy world, but now in this sort of far post-apocalyptic disaster future. Technology and magic are really essentially indistinguishable from each other. And this, the world is kind of living in these, what's called the Oasis, which is like a little acronym thing. But it's like these kind of technologically protected, bunkers. And most of the rest of the world is this endless, vast ocean of kind of ravaged climate disaster desert. And the role of the player characters take on is that they are loaded up with an experimental Eldritch Tech power core. And in place of a normal D&D class, there's a small selection of kind of like mech Ava style suits. You're not piling like it's and they're like person sized. So it's almost like having like a Master Chief-ish style, power armor, or Fallout 4, Fallout style power armor type thing.
Warframe, or that really cool game that never made it off the ground, Anthem. Yeah.
Oh, was that a game that existed? Huh, never heard of it.
It was.
This is mean.
I wanted it to be good.
I was very sad about Anthem, but yeah, it's a person-sized mech suit, sort of, but it's magical and powered
basically
by
like a slightly questionable power source from maybe not our dimension that has been plugged into your body. Absolutely nothing can go wrong. Definitely no side effects. You will be fine. Yeah, and all the different suits have sort of different thematic abilities, and then characters also get to install what are called modules, which allow a little bit more customization. And let you kind of swap out different abilities or bonuses or features and things like that.
We'll share the preview so that people can follow the Kickstarter, but it's a really cool, like the preview PDF is awesome. It's got an example of a class and some monsters and a bit about the world. It's a very tasty teaser. I backed this. I'm excited to see where it goes.
The class system, I just have to say, is like really cool. It's almost, you could use so much like cool Numenera stuff with this setting while like, I don't know, still getting that. One of the things, if you want to like play like 5e post-apocalypse stuff, if you're just like, I'm just a wizard or a ranger, it doesn't feel quite right. And I don't know, the class like armor frames, the suits and stuff, I don't know, they all feel really cool. It all works super well with the 5th edition system. I have to say I was very impressed with that. So
I really love the artwork and everything. Like Daniel Camerici and oh my gosh, I know I'm losing it. Raluca Marinescu did like the Eldritch Dragon art. A lot of the suit art I think is Daniel's. I absolutely adore the different suit art that's been done. I'm pretty sure the Kickstarter page and probably the preview PDF has. I know it has the owlbear suit because that's the suit that's included in the preview. But there's also the.
It does, and it's awesome. It's like a mech. It's a guy in a mech suit that looks like an owlbear, and he's got a big glowing sword. It rules. It's awesome.
And a lot of some of the art and stuff was completed before I had either started or finished on some of the mechanical stuff and things that I'd written to be ready for the Kickstarter campaign. And there's a lot of stuff just that owlbear suit art inspired in me of like, okay, well, just based on this picture, like I gotta do XYZ, feature that I think would be really cool, that makes this art feel like it's mechanically coming alive at the table.
This is a full, campaign setting with classes and monsters and all that. Like, and it's an ambitious one, right? This isn't to me it's ambitious. This isn't here's another generic fantasy campaign setting. This is post-apocalyptic, sci-fi, horror, biopunk. This is different than what you've worked on before. I know you can't talk too much about, the specifics, but what's the experience been like so far? I mean, this is a cool project, IMO.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been super fun to work on. I definitely have felt the differences of this probably being the most sci-fi style thing I've ever worked on, professionally. Even I can't think of like a personal project I had that was even close to this, this level of sci-fi. And it's been, it's been a challenge, like trying to make sure I get the atmosphere right, the mood right. Trying to make mechanics that complement, I think of what the project's going for. Ultimately I'm really excited to see people get the finished supplement when it's done, and just see what people think of it, see how they like the suits, see how they like the spiders and the whisper system and the Eldritch Dragon and all this other stuff that I got to all these different pies. I got to put my grubby little hands in, trying to do this sort of new design direction for me. So it's always a fun experience.
This is a question that I had reading through the mechanics of sci-fi battle suits and stuff like that, and I think you've done an excellent job designing something that's oh, I can play 5e Dungeons and Dragons. Here's a completely different, setting and really set of classes and mechanics that you can use with that. How do you feel? Do you feel like 5e is flexible enough to kind of get there? I'm not sort of saying, oh, do you wish this had its own system or something? Because God knows there's enough systems out there. But I don't know. Did you enjoy making a 5e thing that's not 5e?
Yes. I be very careful with what I say here.
Right. Sorry. I didn't want you to say oh man, I wish we had done 1,000,000 miles more work and made our own complete Lancer type system or something.
This was a blast. It's also, it's like I said, it's a design challenge to do that, and a stripped down 5th edition, the basic mechanics are, I think, flexible enough to do quite a lot. If you just go to the system reference document and just look at what's there, there's a huge amount there in terms of basic rules, and there's a lot of monsters. There's a lot more spells and things than you might initially think there would be. So if you want to build a fantasy world, all the rules are there. More than enough rules are there to do that. If you want to do something like this that's a little bit different, the challenge lies in looking at 5th edition and saying oh, you know what, some of the foundation for how the rules work, the structure of how classes work, things like that, are all fine, but you also have to be willing to identify where you can just strip it down to the studs and say oh, well, I can just take this whole section, rip it down to nothing, and build something that looks like 5th edition, that looks, a style that people are familiar with. But it is going to feel very new, even if the language and stuff are things that people are familiar with. Sorry, the reason I had to be careful there was because, without saying anything, if you think this project is a really interesting example of how much you can very dramatically change 5th edition, you have seen absolutely nothing yet.
Ooh.
That's quite a teaser. I could talk about this all day, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But, well, maybe we'll just have you back on when more of these things launch, because it's always great to talk with you. And we're trying to work on doing more design and doing more creative stuff, and so it's always great to touch base and share with other creators. But anything else that you've got going on that you're excited about? Anything you want to tease or promote? Or should we just watch your Twitter for updates on hopefully exciting things and not additional Facebook
additional
spats?
So first of all, you are legally required to have at least 2 or 3 people on here a second time before you even dream of having me on for a third.
Okay.
Yeah,
we will try.
We actually have another return guest in the pipeline,
good.
so don't worry. You just happened to be better at scheduling. That's not going in the podcast, but anyway.
Okay.
You happen to be more available.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have anything else going on, Alex.
Yeah. COVID
not.
You respond to my DMs, so thanks for that.
I can say that some of the stuff I'm working on is with Peterson Games, who makes the Cthulhu Mythos for 5e supplements and a whole bunch of other stuff, actually. I've got a couple really, really, really big projects with them, and that's really the only thing I'm allowed to say. But I'm hoping that some more of that will kind of get out into the world soon. The really, really, really big thing I'm hoping will get announced pretty soon. I'd love to talk about that sometime. On that, no, I'm chilling behind my little contract walls. I'm still trying to figure out maybe this fall when I can have time to prep my own horror Kickstarter and get
Hell
that
yeah.
going.
Hell yeah. Well, congrats on that, and congrats on all your success so far. Wishing you the best on these adventures. And I can't believe we talked this whole time about horror, and I did not bring up a module of yours that I bought but haven't run yet. I plan to run it next fall with my students, which is They Want to Be Us.
Yeah.
You made a thing module. It's great. It's great. It'll work great in an Icewind Dale game, or honestly any horror game you want to run. So it looks great. I've read it twice. I can't wait to run it.
And I didn't get to ask you about this, but I hope we'll see a veiled prophet, module from you. A little bit about the the St. Louis icon.
See, I feel like here's a challenging moral question to both of you to close thing out. Is there things that are too close to real life that you can't make D&D modules out of? For instance, I once downloaded detailed maps and schematics of Jeffrey Epstein's island and was like, should I make this into a module of terrible horror?
Oh,
no.
You got as far as designing a map of Little St. James, and it was a good map. And I
real
was like,
people
I
have
don't know,
suffered.
man.
Maybe I can't do this. I need. What am I fucking doing? So anyway, how's the Veiled Prophet module?
Maybe we just leave that idea unattended in a prison cell and.
Yep.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And just see what happens to it. Yeah.
Wow. Haunted.
Well, I guess we'll see you at next year's meeting.
Cursed.
I guess if
yeah, right.
goes without saying.
I don't think I'm gonna get an invite. Strangely enough.
Oh, I thought you were okay.
Well, Alex, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us. As always, we'll promote your stuff and definitely let us know when you can talk about new things. We're very, very excited. We're glad that you've moved on and are working on big projects, and we can't wait to see what comes out of it.
I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for listening. And Rob, do you want to say the outro thing?
I'll say the outro. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep rolling them dice.